Gettysburg's first and premier podcast about living in and visiting Gettysburg has returned from that long commercial break. Thanks for sticking around. Here's Matt.
I know, but I didn't know.
All right, we're back now, and thank you, Cuevas Grande, for that introduction there. And Barn Resort, ladies and gentlemen, that's where we're going to have the Christmas party this year. So I'm wearing the Barn Resort hat that was given to me by Brian, the owner. Bethany is still trying to get hers.
Yeah, I do want to point out to Marie that there is somebody always watching you. His name's Eric Houston. Just saying.
Jason Hileman is our guest today.
Listen, it makes sense. You just need to read the comments.
Licensed Battlefield Guide. And Jason, I've asked you to come on the show and do some, give us some advice.
Something short and pithy.
I'm sorry. Yes, something
short and pithy. Yeah.
What would you tell people who are studying for the guide exam? You say to them, they come up to you, Jason, I am studying for the exam December 7th, 2024, a date which will live in infamy. And
sure.
You are a guide. So give me some advice. Tell me what to do. Let's do the top 5. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Top 5.
That's good because I only have 5.
Good. So let's start with 5 and work our way down to number 1.
He's good. He wrote them down.
Is that pretty good? Okay,
Yeah,
here we go.
I don't even know.
Number 5, Jason Heilman. It's a short song, Jason, so you want to
go ahead.
You want to say it over the song?
We're going
We're going 5 down to 1.
5 down to 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be that quick. Go ahead. Ready? Go.
Learn it.
Learn it.
That's
Learn
number
it.
5. So we're doing.
All right, so we're done.
Yeah.
Now let's discuss number 5
Learn
a little
it.
bit. You're learn it. So you learn the battle.
So my first piece of advice is step at a time. The way it is today, it's 5 tiers, right? So you got 5 steps. So I got my 5.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
you're so good.
Yeah.
You're so good.
Analytical.
Yeah.
Number 5, learn it.
Learn it.
And from this, take one step at a time. Focus on that particular step. The step that is before you is knowledge exam.
Right.
So learn. Just
So in other words,
I've heard people asking about, well, how do I do a tour? And don't worry about all that
you're
stuff.
not even
man.
going to get. You don't even know you're going to get that.
I don't
far.
say it that way. Like you're not going to get that far. Don't worry
not
about
a nice thing
Don't
to
worry
say.
about
But
that.
isn't that good advice, though? You don't know that you're going to get
Step
that
at a
far.
time.
Right, one step at a time.
Focus on what it is you need to accomplish at this time, and that is knowledge.
Right.
And with that, I would say it's kind of like the jack of all trades, master of none.
Right.
Is don't focus on anything over
Too much.
Like some people focus on learning all the monuments. I have to learn all the. Okay, if you learned every monument on the whole battlefield, but at the expense of all the other information you're being asked, understand. Just learn the really prominent monuments. Drive around on the ones that you know people are so prominent or are so important to the story. Know those. You can't be expected to know 450 monuments and when they were dedicated. No, it's just not reasonable. And always ask yourself on a subject, have I gone deep enough? Because how many questions can there be on this subject? 10, maybe. If I blow the whole subject, how many have I missed? Right. So make sure you're diverse, right? Because you got to go antebellum, all the subjects.
Who's she?
And
Antebellum.
Reconstruction, antebellum.
Antebellum.
So diversify. So that's my first tip.
All right, your first tip is learn it. Now let's move on to tip number 4.
Forget it.
Forget it. Wait, what? Record scratch. What do you mean, forget it?
Forget it.
What does that mean, forget it?
So my best advice after you get past the learn it is now you got to forget it.
Right.
You have to let it go.
Okay.
Now, and it's very, very hard because when you go through the process, you study and you bust your butt memorizing, learning, getting facts, figures, all this information. And then the last thing they think about is that I'm not going to use it.
Okay.
But that's the reality.
Okay.
Is in a great deal, you're not going to use it. So let's go to that next step.
I
Tier
see.
2 is interview. You're not using it.
Right.
you are not using that knowledge. You're going to
'Cause
go
it's not
to
about
you're going to go to tier 2 interview. And now I forgot to read my disclaimer. My attorney told me to read before I got on here. The views and expressions expressed in this show have no liability. This is based on my experience.
Of course.
2015 4-tier process. So it's just this assumes you're going to have a similar process.
Right.
You go to the interview. They're looking for concise. Can you relate? Can you be coherent in a short space? Eye contact? Are you personable? Right? Has nothing to do with knowledge. They're not going to ask you questions in the interview to see if you know something.
Right.
Yeah.
They're looking to see how you present an answer to a question in a very relatable, coherent, concise way.
Yeah.
For my interview, I was done, and I was actually worried walking down the hall to leave. I looked at the watch and I think I was in there 5 minutes. And I'm thinking, oh man, I might have blew that.
Yeah. Very unlikable.
But then you find out later that was actually the good.
The less you're in there.
The answers were short. They were concise. Good eye contact. You related. You were personable. It doesn't have, they're not, if you're in there for 20 minutes, you're probably not going to get through it because it's too long.
Oh, that's good to know.
You're just talking too long.
It's good to know because I like
don't
to go
sit there
a
and
little long.
The opposite
pontificate
of an
about it.
interview.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a job interview.
Yes.
Right.
Right. All right. Well, then what is
because this interview is about somebody who's going to present stuff, right?
what is number 3?
Forget it.
Wait, that was number 4.
Oh,
What are you saying?
no, it says right here, forget it.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, so it's forget it again. You know why? Tier 3 is the guide school. So if you get through the interview, the next thing is you're going to go to think about what you're going to learn at guide school, which is how to do a tour. You're going to frame it for a theme. You're going to talk about things about how to greet your visitor, how you're going to tailor your tour based on where they tell you they're from, what their interests are, what their occupations are, what's going to draw them into the subject matter, how to do that. You're going to talk about things like driving skills, about driving around the battlefield and keeping your hands on the wheel.
You never think about until you're doing it. It's very difficult to do.
So these are the things that you learn at how to do a tour, how to do it well, and what the expectations from the NPS are about your conduct, your appearance, your behavior, and you need all of what you learn there for the next step, which is, that oral, but you don't need that knowledge.
We have a caller with a question.
Yeah.
So let's see if the caller has the question to ask. Who is this? David? I think it's David. You're on the air with a question.
Hey there. How are you guys?
Good, David. How are you?
Good. I'm glad you can hear me. Look, I'm really excited to take the battlefield guide exam, but here's my question. I've looked all over, and I can't find any academic research about orbs and things, the more spiritual nature of the battlefield.
Uh-huh.
So can you, sir, I know you're very professional and do these guides, but could you teach me maybe where to go to find more of the more spiritual stuff?
Yeah, he wants to learn for the exam about orbs and other ghostly images that show up in photographs. Who would you recommend he read for that?
No idea. Wasn't.
But would you say
hasn't
that's
been part? Wasn't part of the
10, 15, 25% of the test, the written is ghosts?
0%.
0%.
0%.
So you don't have to worry,
Sometimes
David.
You do not need to. No.
Okay, sometimes I go out onto the battlefield naked at night. Is that a problem to search for orbs?
Well, you shouldn't be out at night.
Yeah, there's naked any other
during
time.
the day is
There is
okay,
no
though.
restriction that I know of about naked.
I haven't seen that in the compendium.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or in the list of whatever the hell
Okay.
you're supposed to read for that. Yeah, I haven't seen anything about being naked, but I know you can't be out there at night.
I think in the annual agreement,
Naked
what we
during
read,
the day. Totally cool.
Totally
Yeah.
cool during
now,
the day.
when you get your license, I don't think you can give a tour naked. Is that
No,
correct?
you have to be
I was
wearing-
just going to say, when we sign our annual license renewal, statement of understanding. I think it's pretty much on there.
It says you can't be
if you
naked.
are found naked on the battlefield at any point in time, this license will be revoked.
Okay. How about what if you give a tour to nudists?
compromise.
What if you're
What about Vikings?
hold it? What if you're hired by a busload of nudists?
No.
You have to be in the gray
that
and
would
the
be bad.
green,
I'd
or the gray
probably
and the
end
blue.
up on
Yeah. Great
What'd he
pants.
say?
for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I'm actually not taking the test. I just wanted to screw around with it.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Are you coming to the Christmas party?
Yeah, for sure. I just signed up for it.
Good. And
Thank
by the
you.
way, David, it says last time on the air, September 28th, 2023. Okay. You're a little overdue for participation in the show. So I expect to hear more from you. Okay.
Well, I hope I made up for it because this time I talked about wearing a girdle and a Viking helmet during broad daylight on the battlefield.
I missed that part. I thought you were
That's when
That
you
was when you
muted him.
muted him.
Oh. Oh, I'm sorry, David. Say that again. I muted you because I was trying to talk.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I am.
Oh, wait. Okay, this didn't work. I now it's even more awkward because I was just saying, like, yeah, I literally, I was like, you're like, yeah, it's been a while since you called in. It's overdue. And I was just saying, yep. But today I called in and I talked about wearing a girdle and a Viking helmet on the battlefield. So I win.
You do.
Maybe.
You win.
I don't know.
David, thank you very much. We must get on to number 2 and number 1. All right. But thank you for the
All
call,
right,
sir. And
take
I'll
care,
see you on
guys.
Christmas or at the Christmas party, I should say. All right, Jason, what is number dos?
Very important.
Forget it.
Wait, hold on. I'm starting to see a pattern here. 5 was learn it. 4 was forget it. 3 was forget it. Now we're on number 2, and it's
Forget it.
forget it.
Because tier 4 is the oral exam.
Okay.
Okay. You do not need that knowledge for that oral exam.
Stop it. Now, wait a second. The oral exam, I'm taking around, a ranger and a couple of guides or something like that?
I'll guarantee you the vast majority of people who are taking that exam already had the knowledge that they will convey for that 2-hour oral, because the level at which you provide that tour is so high, very simplistic.
Meaning 30,000 foot view.
50,000 foot view,
Most
Matt.
airplanes don't go that high.
50,000 is you're way up here.
Yeah.
And when you prepare for that, there are things your coach, your mentor will keep track of, like how many people's names did you mention?
Right.
And the fewer the better.
How about driving skills?
Driving skills, right? You got to keep one hand on the wheel
At all times.
At all
right?
times.
at all times. Never take both hands off the wheel. And in fact, when we were examined, it's probably still the same way. We were informed there are 3 things that will end the oral exam immediately. You won't even have an opportunity to finish it. Take both hands off the wheel, disobey a traffic regulation sign or light or whatever, or speed over a certain amount.
Yeah,
You know,
they will.
5 miles
5 miles
over or whatever.
Yeah.
Because,
But not in the park. In the park, they want you going right at 25, right?
right.
Or whatever the limit is
Whatever
on the road.
speed limit, yeah, is though, and it's interesting because the 3 things that stop the exam are all
Driving.
safety related,
Nothing to do with
nothing
knowledge.
to do with knowledge at all. And one of our mentors, Rob Abbott,
Rob Abbott, the great Rob
his
Abbott.
famous, most common statement when he was mentoring our group was ham sandwich. It's a plain ham sandwich. It doesn't have cheese, no lettuce, no toppings.
Not even mustard?
This is what you're creating with your tour. A ham sandwich.
Uh-huh.
KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay.
And you have to pack the knowledge away. It's not about you showing the guest your knowledge, because you have 2 hours with these folks. What are you going to leave them with?
Would it be fair to say that the only person who's impressed with all the things you know are you and your mommy?
Yeah, I could see that fitting.
Yeah. Because the average tourist.
So if somebody's out there saying, well, why do we have to study? Well, because there is this expectation that if they ask you a question, you will know the vast majority of those questions, and you have the context to frame the answer to that because you know it so well.
Yeah, okay.
It does come into play in relatability, but as you're doing your tour, when they ask you a question, you'll feel good. That, I do know that, and I can explain to you why something is the way it is because you've gained that extreme knowledge.
Yeah.
So you do.
Yeah.
And you know, the licensed battlefield guides have this legacy of their knowledge level. And that goes all the way back to the history of why there is. Right. And so you do want to uphold that. And we're very proud about that. And the people who are studying for the exam, you should be proud about it.
Right.
And you're pursuing the guide exam, and you know that. What I'm trying to convey in these is you'll use it. Don't become exuberant overusing it because it'll trip you up. It'll end up tripping you up if you're not able to compartmentalize it, pack it away. You'll be able to show your Superman at some point, but you don't need it, at this point.
Because they're not. So in other words, what you're saying is the knowledge, your knowledge, is determined by the written test. Everything after that is testing something else.
Correct.
Personality, ability to follow directions and not drive off the road or kill people.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it, brother. It is, and Guide Supervisor Angie said it, and you may not want to believe it, but it's true. We already tested you on your knowledge. We're done with that. She said that numerous times during our school and during.
And I think she said that a bunch of times when she was on the show.
And it's true. Is you may be skeptical about that, but it's the absolute truth. They're done testing you on knowledge.
Yeah.
When you get past that exam, that's it.
Yeah. And your knowledge base actually comes into play for like, I am the user of your knowledge. So then this is when you start to get phone calls from people like me that go, hey, we have fall muster coming up. Pick a topic.
Right.
Specialty tours.
And
special
that's
walks.
where the knowledge comes in.
And that's why a lot of guides love the specialty walks, the special tours. I love them because you're actually in the depth that we as historians and guides love to be at.
Right.
But that's not a tour. That's not, 95% of your tours are dealing with not even novices.
Right.
They're just a stop-by visitor.
And they're not interested in all that
But
stuff.
here's the thing. You get a small window of time to impress upon these folks what happened here.
Yeah.
And if you blow it by being overly technical, overly depth, they won't get it.
Yeah.
They'll come away confused and say, well, we stopped at Gettysburg. You have a little bit of time to try and hook them.
Yeah.
And that's why the personality, the relatability, the coherence and logical flow of expressing to them the importance of what they did here in Lincoln's words is your opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what this 4 of these tiers are about, is getting that. Because you want to hook them.
Yeah. Okay.
You want to hook them. You get a couple hours to hook them.
You're the ambassador to the public for Gettysburg, for the Civil War even, right? Because, most people are only going to visit here. If they visit any Civil War sites, it's going to be here.
Yeah.
So, you're kind of like, it's kind of a big responsibility to, you're the impression. You're the one that's going to leave the impression on them.
Yeah.
And again, I say this as if I have done it and know what I'm talking about, but I'm only saying this because I've heard it so many times from all of you guys who I have on the show. We talk about this stuff when we're not doing the show, and this is what I'm hearing most people say. Real quick, Cindy or Debbie, could you get me in the closet in the hallway? There's AA batteries. Could you grab me one, please? Thank you kindly.
And don't forget, I have one more.
You do have one more.
Well,
That's my number one.
I do want to say one thing based off of what you're saying, because I think it's brilliant. One of the things, and I don't think I'm speaking out of school here.
You've been out of school for years.
Well, I'm in charge of it, so I guess I can say what I want. But so at for the foundation, we have the Friends Desk. So I'm going to put this out there. If you pass the guide exam, which I hope all of you do, contact me, because I think one of the quickest ways to get an idea of what the average visitor is to go into that visitor center and experience it.
Right.
And if you are willing to sit down and become a volunteer at the Friends Desk, you will experience that so quickly. The number of times I've watched new volunteers come in and they think, oh my God, I'm so excited because I'm going to get to tell everybody everything I know. And then a customer comes in and they just want to buy a hat, and watching somebody go, wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Like it, you have to learn that the customer is what you're basing your nerdiness level off of. So if their nerdiness level is high, go for it.
The impression
Pull
I
out
have
that.
is that, a lot of this crop that's taking the test now grew up watching Gary, Tim, and then Jim Hessler, and
they think that's what it's going to be every day.
That's what you have to be, which you don't. No. That's not going to get you the license.
No, in fact, it'll trip you up. You won't get the license.
Right. And so the whole idea is to figure out, and this is what we talked about with Angie too, is like, or no, it wasn't with Angie, but we had this conversation on a previous show. You're being licensed to give a 2-hour tour, a general 2-hour tour.
Correct.
Nobody GAF about your deep knowledge of one regiment or another, or uniforms or weapons or anything.
Now, once you have the license,
that's a
I
different story.
GAF about your ability to do that.
And I do too, because I want you to come on this show.
And I want you to do muster.
Yes.
But like,
because God knows I'm not getting that damn license.
If you pass the test and you want to see what it's really like to talk to, because some of those people come in and it astounds you how much they do not know. Come work at the Friends Desk. I will put you in there, and we will get you acclimated pretty quick.
I think that's the one thing I'm glad that I had the experience for on and off for 20 years working with Getty's Bike.
Oh, I bet.
Because I get to see what people come equipped with, and it's virtually nothing.
Yeah.
And so like and it's so overwhelming. See, this is the battlefield is so overwhelming to somebody. And we talked about this on the show you did a couple of days ago. People will come here and they hear battlefield, and in their head they picture like a football field.
Yeah.
And this thing spans miles, and there's a town in the middle of it, and it's like, what the hell? And they're all turned around by the end of the whole thing, and all you're really supposed to do is orient them, right, and give them a good story. And is that accurate? Okay, good. Did you guys find the battery back there?
I think they're looking for it.
Okay, it's in like it's not in like your typical Duracell thing. It should be like the middle shelf in a clear plastic thing. All right, number 1, Jason.
What is it?
Forget it.
Wait a second. What? Come on. I can't believe this again.
Tier 5, because it's Tier 5, and once you get past your oral, then all you're doing in Tier 5 is uniform details, how to get tours, where you get tours, what forms you fill out, how you report your tours, tax advice, how to handle supplementary income, how to ride on a bus safely, what the expectations are of the NPS.
How to work Tessitura.
So the how-to of guiding. So, but
I forget it.
Yeah, right.
But this is all important stuff too.
It's orientation.
How to be a guide.
It's guide orientation. Yeah.
I always wonder about like what do you call it? Like, well, you mentioned taxes, right? That's a big thing. Yeah. Taxes, and then my question is, and apparently this isn't a thing, but liability insurance or making yourself an LLC. So if you screw something up and hurt somebody, you don't lose your house. You're out there with the public. You're driving their automobile. It's safer than say riding a bike, or a horse, but still,
there's things like when you meet your tour, and you ask, would it be okay if I drive your vehicle? We typically do that because we know where we're going and we know all the turns, and the safety of the park. And most people say, absolutely, here you go. You can't do that with a rental.
Receipt. Yeah, right. So
Rental vehicles,
right.
if you think about it, when you get your rental, they want to know all your drivers. They don't know who your guide is when you get to Gettysburg. Now, there's a special insurance that a local provider has framed up that will actually cover you to drive rental vehicles. But to me, you have to
you have to
do
get the
200
insurance.
tours a year
Yeah,
to
to make that
justify
worth it.
paying the premiums to operate rental vehicles. So there's been plenty of times I'm picking up a tour and they say, yeah, here's the keys. And it's got that funny plastic thing and there's multiple fobs there. And I go, this is a rental.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can't do it.
you have to drive.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah,
would too.
no,
There's no way.
yeah.
what would be
Even
your?
though like my chances of getting in an accident are pretty small.
Yeah, no.
I'm not. No, it's not worth it.
Because you know that's the one time you will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What would be your advice to someone who thinks I'm going to get my license and I'm going to quit my job at Domino's and I'm going to be a full-time guy to make my living that way?
That's pretty tough.
Pretty tough. Why is it tough?
That's pretty tough. You're going to do a lot of tours.
Lot of
You're
tours.
going to work 6
And
days
not
a week.
everyone
it's-
is John Fuss.
Right. And it's
You're going to have to do a lot of buses.
it's easier.
Because the bus rate for the tour
Right,
is
is
where
higher.
you can make your money.
Yep.
Right.
Would you say that it would be easier for someone who is a regular on Addressing Gettysburg?
Oh yeah.
Yes, because the tours come rolling in.
Oh yeah.
Or somebody who does all of the events that the foundation puts out there.
Yeah, like you got to do other things. You got to whore yourself out, if I may.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I'm less than part time. Right.
Right, because you have a full time job.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
a full time
Yeah.
job. And people have asked, well, when you retire, are you going to do this? I don't know that I am. Here's my fear: is if I do it 2 times a day,
Will you
5
get sick
days
of
a
it?
week. I don't know. I'm not worried about getting sick of it. I think I would lose the passion for it.
I can
It's
tell
special.
you.
It's still special when I put that uniform on and
Yeah.
I walk up the sidewalk at the visitor center. It's still a special time because I held guides in such high esteem. I still have a hard time believing I am one.
Right, I do too.
Right?
bet.
I do because of how the pedestal I looked at them
Yeah.
on, and a lot of times
You didn't hear what I
don't
said?
What'd you say?
I said I do too. I
Yeah.
have a hard time believing.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
And I do want to say this about this. You learn it, but then you got to quickly forget it. But I don't want people to think, oh, where'd you get? Because I had to live this. This is a reality that I had to realize. Believe me, when I practiced my first oral, it was 3.5 hours. I struggled with this mightily.
Why? Because you wanted to show everything you knew?
Yeah. And when I had a mentor, thank goodness for John Fitzpatrick, who took the notes and said, you named 15 people. Why are you bringing this person up? And you said a post, tour to go over how you did, and you're still an hour over your target of 2 hours.
Right.
You have to start to realize I cannot share this information. The information I end up sharing, I knew before I started studying for that.
Maybe it's like, how history nerds complain about movies because they don't tell enough of the story. There's not enough historic detail. There's not enough of, that didn't happen that way. That's like a condensed version of everything. But that's kind of what you have to do. You have to do what you hate. Which is like tell a condensed version of the story.
Correct.
You don't make composite characters up or anything, but you have to, you just got to get the high points and move on.
Yeah, and at first that might be a struggle, but here's the beauty in it, and that I've come to really appreciate.
It's easy.
Is it works.
Yeah.
The most fulfilling thing is when you give a tour to the most casual visitor. They didn't know anything about it. And at the end they go, wow, that is amazing what happened here. Could you recommend a book I could read about this?
Yeah.
Or, when they make a statement like, I never really appreciated history, but I'm, what? I'm going to look into this a little bit more, or, you had the opportunity to hook them, and strapping a bunch of information on them is not what inspires them.
Yeah.
That's not what inspires them.
Yeah.
What inspires them is you made it relatable at the level that you sensed and you're getting across, and it worked.
I can,
And it's the children, and you relate to them.
Yeah.
And you don't blow them away, but you can hold their attention, and they're paying attention to you because you're talking to them.
yeah.
And you're putting it in terms that they get. They're getting it. Okay, it's beautiful when it works. You don't have to, strap the knowledge on. You have it. They ask you a question. Yeah, let me explain to you because I can relate, because I truly understand the depth of this subject matter. I do. And it's how you get it across. That's the beauty in it. And you come to appreciate that.
Some of my favorite emails that I get from people are, I've only gotten this maybe 3 times since I started doing this, but it's, I used to be into this stuff 30 years ago. And then during COVID or during this or during that or whatever it was, I was laid up for back surgery or whatever it is. I was like, well, let me see if there's anything about Gettysburg out there. And then I found your podcast, and I like it because it's relatable, and I don't feel like I'm being lectured to, and all that other stuff. And you get great guests on, and it's you guys that they always say make it good, because you can just talk, and it's not a lecture, and it's it's something that, and it gets them fired up again over it, and then they want the lecture, then they want the deeper stuff, but they first have to get that spark, and that's something that so I know that works, that advice works, because I hear from people all the time.
And I told you once, people had mentioned this show, and I didn't know what it was, and then I caught a few episodes of it, and I remember telling you when you came to our roundtable meeting, I said, you know what I like about your show is that you don't take it too seriously.
No.
It's conversational, it's fun, you're making it enjoyable, and then people can get into it because you're making it relatable and enjoyable, and it's not, we're not taking it too awfully serious. Something that is very serious
It's a very
subject,
serious
very
thing,
serious subject.
And it's very depressing.
Yeah, right. I mean, we're not making light of that.
Just turn Siri on my phone.
So what is it? It's learn it, forget it.
So, Bo, you're in the back there. You've seen, of course, Waiting for Guffman, right?
Oh yeah, I love that. That show.
Right, great movie. It's about a small town community theater having a play and everything like that. And remember the scene when the director, Corky St. Clair, is getting in an argument with Bob Balaban's character, the music director.
Yeah.
And they're talking about should they do the songs or dance or like they learn the script and everything. And Corky's thing is like, well, I want them to learn it and then forget it.
Yeah.
Right. And then he's like, well, why would you have them learn it and forget it? And everything. Like it is good advice, right? Because
I've heard that all my life, like Robert Lewis, the great, drama teacher. He's like, learn it and forget it.
Yeah. And why? Because when you learn it and try to remember it, you put too much pressure on yourself and you end up forgetting it when you need it. Is that right?
Well, it's sort of like that. I think from an acting standpoint, you're too aware of the craft that you're working on, and it shows.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. And that's exactly what ends up happening, because you take the exam and then you're so caught up in it, you can't let it go.
Right. Yeah. Colby, you've been in bands. I've been in bands. We have rehearsals and all that stuff, right? And then when you have a show coming up, what do? Forget it.
Well, that.
All right, shut up, Colby. You're not helping my argument.
But I do have a point that goes in your direction. I mean, even in the Marine Corps, like during a time of war, the minute I got out of like boot camp and School of Infantry and got to my unit, they told me to brain dump everything I learned too. Like
there you go.
There is something to it.
So if it's good enough for actors, if it's good enough for musicians, according to me, and if it's good enough for the Marine Corps, it's good enough for a prospective licensed battlefield guide.
I'll put it in even simpler terms.
All right. If it's good enough for a simpleton.
Yes. Do you remember, have you ever been in the shower and you suddenly think,
often.
Did I wash my hair? Well, you can't think that. No, did I do something specific in the shower? And then you have to it's because you thought about it. If you just stop thinking about it.
Then you would never do it?
your brain is like, it's a troll. It's rote memory. If you just let your brain go, it will do what you want it to do.
Okay.
Where you going, dude?
I don't know.
No,
You've taken a path I cannot follow.
All right.
Really? Really? You've never had this issue where you're like, you're doing something that you're doing the task all the time, and then all of a sudden you start thinking about it, and then you can't do it?
No, I have no idea.
You've never had that happen? Where you're like doing something the same way like 27 million times, and then all of a sudden you thought about what you were doing, and then you can't do it anymore.
No. Yeah. I don't think so. I'm trying to know. Oh yeah, yes, no, playing music. Yes, playing piano. I'll be like, yes, I'll start thinking about what it is I'm doing that I've played a million times. And then I'll start like, okay, but so it's A, B, C, C, B, C, B, C, B, C, B, C, B, A. And then I'm like, I'm like, wait a second, I'm screwing it up. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Or
yes,
like when you're in the shower and you wash your hair. I do this all the time. And then you think to yourself, did I wash my hair?
Well,
I do that.
I don't know what the heck you guys are talking about.
You know, and then it's because you started thinking about it, or you. I hate you so much. I get it. I can't even deal with you.
It's wonderful.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it was short or if it was pithy.
No, it was good. It was good.
Okay. It was brilliant.
I think it was very helpful.
It was brilliant.
I hope it's helpful. Because I want them to get through.
Right. If
they put too much work into it.
If our egos will allow us to take advice, right? Because I think everybody has an idea of how this is going to go and how they're going to do it different.
Right.
This is my plan of this is how I'm studying, and I've got the right way to do it. And then nobody ever told them that. And you listen to the people who know.
Yeah, and there's a humility that must exist for that to happen. For you to learn it, forget it, because you're not going to use it in these other examination levels. There's a humility that you got to have to let it go.
Right. Yeah. Ralph said when he was here,
you have the power. We don't have to show it. Yeah. You got to show some other things.
When Ralph was here, it was in September, and I said, it's September, people are preparing for the guide exam, and he interrupted me, and he said, well, if you're preparing for the guide exam in September, save your money. Yeah. Don't take it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't referring to people who just started preparing. Right. but still, like, he was kind of saying, like, now's the time to kind of, like, relax your brain. Mm-hmm. You know, get out there, get familiar with the field, do what you got to do to like, you know, feel, but don't go nuts up until December 6th. Mm-mm. Right. No. I'm going to drink until December 6th. See, I've already started.
So I just want to
nerd.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that Jean Hutchinson gets me because she's awesome. Thank you, Jean.
All right, Jean. Great. Thanks, Jean.
No.
All right. So listen, we're going to go because we have another guest that we want to get in here.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much, Jason. You're going to stick around and hang out for the rest of the show. Okay. Yeah. When we get to the news, you can feel free to yell your comments out from the back.
Oh, cool.
But thank you for coming and doing this. And
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you. Yeah.
And I think that is
good luck to
advice.
everybody taking an exam.
Learn it and then forget it. Yeah. That is very good advice.
It can trip you up.
Brilliant.
I have put that into practice so many times. In fact, every time I do a show, that's what I'm doing. I'm forgetting everything. Yeah. So thank you very much. All right. Catch full episodes of AG Today live every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern to keep up with everything that's going on in Gettysburg and with the Addressing Gettysburg community.